Good afternoon. Welcome to Options Tender. It is Thursday, June 6th, 2024. Welcome, everybody. If you're new here, go down to that bottom right-hand corner, hit that Options Center logo, and subscribe. Thanks for all the likes, you guys. Thanks for all the support. We're going to go through SPY, QQQ, and then Bitcoin on multiple time frames. I already did some member videos for the Bitcoin proxy plays, and so we'll do the major Bitcoin futures. We'll do it on the futures. There's more information here today so you can see the major market for crypto. And by the way, I do these videos intraday. So if you want to get them intraday, please consider supporting the channel. Otherwise, they will be published at 4 p.m. All right, let's jump into it. We have SPY on the weekly time frame. We're beautiful push up. We're within this channel here, rising channel, and we're looking to touch the confluence here point of about this 540, 545 zone. We've been talking about that for a long time, and I'll go through it with you and how I get those targets. And then I'm going to go onto QQQ. I don't have those targets set, so I'll do that with you so you can find out how to check it out. So we have the weekly time frame, 8 EMA. That's our momentum indicator. We're pushing off of it beautifully with a nice engulfing candle there. We had a pullback to our 20 simple moving average on the weekly, and that's our trend indicator. So the trend is up, momentum's up, everything's bullish right now, and a lot of those individual names, especially on the days that the market is sort of consolidating and very choppy, that's when all the smaller names start to move. And I did a video yesterday on the small caps, and those are starting to make some moves as well. I think the small caps are going to start taking over most of the weight supporting the market. So going over to QQQ. On the weekly time frame, we have pretty much the same thing. We have this nice wedge forming. We're pushing off that 8 EMA, and we see some confluence up top there. So I didn't mention, if you're new, this is the 2000, your 2000 trend line that tagged the end of 2021, the top here. That's the same thing with SPY as well. So we do think that we'll get some rejection off of this area up top, and then what happens after will be a huge deal. Do we hold support? Do we hold this wedge and continue higher to the last target that we have, or not? All right, moving to the daily time frame. On SPY, we'll jump back and forth here. On the daily time frame, using our traditional technical analysis, we have our wedge forming here. We're just filling out that wedge. It's getting pretty steep here. And I do think we're going to break that wedge eventually. But until we do, we're bullish. We're going to be consistently bullish. We're above the 8 EMA. We had gotten just under it for a minute and held on to the trend indicator, the 20 simple, pushed off, gained some market structure. If you're not familiar with market structure, that's very, very important. And I do have a video on that as well. So holding on to that 20 simple and then getting above the 8 EMAs. So gaining some momentum and now just kind of consolidating after this large move here. Okay, so again, the point up here, the target is around 545, and then I have just a scenario that may happen. So if we get up to this target here, possibly we break down from the wedge, and I think we hold some sort of support, and we'll work on that later on where that support might be. But then another possible move to the upside, which would just create a wider wedge or possibly even a channel at that point. Let's check out, for all the new people, what we should be looking for. We already indicated that the price action should move down. So we projected moving up from here. So this arrow is in the pathway so far that we're looking at. Now we have the 150 extension from all of this 2021 going to 2022 retracement. Okay, so this is the extension from that move down. We had the first target. Technically, the first target was at 127. And then our second target hit as a 138. And now we're looking for that third target. I know in the past videos I was saying 1 and 2. That's because we didn't talk much about the 127. So our next target is the 150% extension. Guess what? Around that 545 area. And then I suspect we'll get some sort of pullback, and we'll see what kind of pullback that is at the time. And then we'll be looking at these time references. You know, is it the 17th? I know we have FOMC on the 12th. Do we get a continuation from the FOMC and go higher into 612? We have something going on there. So we'll see where price is when 617 happens after FOMC, because that's going to be highly volatile. It can move back and forth in wide ranges, but end up nowhere in a doji candle. So don't expect anything. Expect everything during FOMC. But ultimately, we want to hit this target up here to 150% retrace extension. Okay, and then after that, this could be the top. I have this marked as not being the top, that this is an A, B, and then a C for wave 5. It's possible that this could be the top there, with this being an A, B, C. Okay, so why do I think there's an A, B, C? I think that's an A, B, C because I think this is an ending diagonal for the overall market. I don't think that's the case for QQQ. I think it's pretty straightforward in the Qs that we have a 1-2-1-2 setup and blah, blah, blah. I'll show you that in just a minute. But here, I think this is all composed of 3-wave moves. So 3-wave move up for 1, 2, all these are 3-wave move up for 3, 4, and we're looking for 3 waves up to end at 5. All right, whether that's at the 545 or the 560 would be above that. Let's move over to the Qs. On the triple Qs. Okay, so again, huge wedge. We haven't moved this wedge so far. Had trouble getting above it, kind of gained ground, had a fake break, and now we're back above, holding back above that wedge. Now we can move the wedge higher at this point, because that's not our main concern there. Now that just happens to have this beautiful confluence around the 470, 473 area. So let's keep that target in mind, and always know that the rising pivot is, constantly rises with price. So as time goes on, these targets may go up just a little bit. But right now, kind of forming possible wedge there. Do we break down from the wedge? We're at the top of it. I'm not sure, but I have it marked there for now. And this is our main bullish wedge here, but we do have a secondary trend line here made for the Qs. All right, and going to the Elliott wave look. Let's see if we have it on. Let's go for that. I think we have another one, but I'll do it on this one here. So where are some of these targets? How do we figure this out? We had this beautiful correction here, an A, B, C correction. And so you take that move and, if you thought it was impulsive to the downside, you look for these retracements. So at first, it's all retracements you look for. The 62, and it started to get above the 62%. And then after getting over the 78% retracement, We thought there still might be a chance to go lower as an A, B, C, a larger A, B, C. That didn't happen. And so once you start to break the highs, there's nothing else you can do but start adding in your targets. So let me extend these out a little bit more so they don't get in the way. So now we have extensions. The green are the retracements there. The red are the extensions. We got to the first set of extensions, and that's the 127s, the primary one. Got a reversal off of it. Held on to these the former all-time highs with the big wicks, and started to form market structure on the lower time frames, getting higher highs and higher lows. And this was triangulating. That's what happens. You get equilibriums when you make a high and you retrace. Price starts to make an equilibrium, and then you can tell after you start to break out from typically a triangle look. You start to break out, and you can see inverse head and shoulders on the lower time frame. Now we're starting to get above and move to our next targets. So the 138 we're at right now. Ultimately, for this move, we're looking at 471. Guess what? I didn't do this before. I didn't set this up. It just so happens that's the top up here. Coincidence? I don't think so. So that's where we think we're going to go. After that, I could easily see price falling down to the wedge on the Qs, and that will be the tail wagging the dog. If the Qs hold this wedge, has plenty of room higher to go to higher targets. But when you start getting to new all-time highs, don't forget the Qs could start getting weak and just hold these highs here while the small caps take over. You get a lower high in the Qs and then a higher high in SPY. The price action goes higher to that 560 target because that's a little bit more steep than this more shallow wedge top that we have here. So there could be some divergences later on here. And again, we'll have to start talking about that later. But for right now, target 470 zone, 471, 472, whatever that is, before we get our retracement. Should hold, next move up. That's kind of where I'm getting at. Now I'll draw this out. So we do these videos often, so make sure you hit that notification button. And I'll just kind of map this out a little bit. It's not going to be exactly, it never is. That's the hardest part about trading. You can pick out targets, and often those targets are hit, but it's how they get there that's so confusing. So this is our map of what we're doing. So far, that's our primary scenario. If FOMC, if they decide that they're going to pivot, then so be it. Maybe this will be the top here. We'll see what happens in this June FOMC. Likely, they're just not going to do anything, and then we'll correct from it. Maybe we get a pop-up from FOMC into our targets, correct, and we'll see where we go from there, and then look for higher highs. Now, I think I have to show you, maybe it's this one here. Sorry, that I have this drawn out. Okay, this, not quite how I was expecting it. I haven't updated this in a while. So what I'm thinking this is right now is this a 1, 2, 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, possibly, or I could probably, I wonder if I can get a 1, 2, 1, 2 into there. So either way, I think this is a 1, 2, 1, 2, and possibly we can move the 3 up to here. 4, 5, that be the end of this move, and then another 4, 5. So the whole point, though, this is all speculation of, I'm just giving market structure here for Elliott waves. Whole point is this might be the top, where we get our 1, 2, and then 3, because we already had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for wave 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and this might be the top once we hit that target there. But like I said, maybe there's something I'm missing with the count there, and then we get one more high after that. And you know, we have all these divergences now, all these negative divergences. So you know, just be careful. I think we're going to hit this top around 472, but I do ultimately think you know, that's the top, or the next one is the top. It doesn't have to go higher than that, okay? With all these divergences forming on the monthly, weekly, all time frames. All right. Now, I always recommend, guys, if you're watching this video all the way through, I started recommending to speed up the speed of the video. Play it, go to settings right there on your screen, and play it at 1.5. That way you can get through this whole video, all this information, all at once, and much faster. I know your time is precious, and I want to get all this information out. So we're going to go down to the 65. And we're starting to get a little bit of a correction here on the lower time frames, but we're still just filling out this major wedge here, okay? And then I have just a straight arrow, nothing's in a straight line, but I have our target zone right here, and I also have marked in the time frame, that's the June 12th FOMC. So we'll see what happens, how we get to places, and then how do we get to this target here, and then after that, we'll start to go short into these targets. And what I think might happen is, although the Qs are probably going to hold their wedge bottom, I think SPY is likely to break down from the wedge, and then at minimum go back test the wedge. So we'll see how that happens. You can make a lower high. There's all sorts of scenarios, so we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Just keep watching these videos. And but right now we're filling out the wedge, and so we're bullish until we hit the target, or until we break down from this wedge. I have this is the benefit of the doubt. It's actually the lighter line, which is the wedge from the bottom. This is sort of the benefit of the doubt. It's the geometrical line from this bottom and this bottom here. Let's go to the Elliott wave. And now on this time frame, on the 65, you have your Elliott wave. Our next target happens to be 543. That right in that 545 zone. And what is this? This is the retracement. This is the extension from this retracement, not from the major one of 2022. This is the one from the last retracement we had, the last major one we had. Okay, we can do another one here as well to get the lower time frame push here, but the 62 is our target. So we have looks like a time cluster around FOMC. There's FOMC right there. Few time clusters there we'll pay attention to. A few things happening in between, but no real clusters. We have the 10th, the 12th, and the 13th there. And then nothing really on the 17th that lines up with the daily. I think we have to look at the weekly to get another sense of time, and that's not until July. So we'll be looking at that for a very important move there. When you get the clusters on the weekly time frames, that's super important. So in the meantime, it's not super clear. Our target is clear, but the time factors, it looks like we have a cluster here from 10 to 11 right before FOMC. So we'll see how that acts. We'll see where price is at when we get to that point. On the Qs, not much else to show. It's still kind of the same thing. You could draw possibly a channel or wedge from the top here, just to show a little bit of resistance at this point. That's kind of where we're at. We're just getting above that resistance. We're holding on to it here. I do think we'll go higher probably from this point. Holding on to the top of the wedge is definitely bullish. Another gap there, which is an island gap. So that move was really bullish because of that island gap. And I like to color those in different shade here, just so we know that that's very bullish. You got the gap and go because of that island gap. If you're not familiar, this is left here, gap down, and then a gap up above the gap. Very bullish. Okay, so now let's go to, since we're on the Qs, yeah, Tesla. Looking good on Tesla. We added on to the position today some calls. We mentioned that in the options, guys, so check that out. Check out the Discord. Let's go to BTC, and we'll zoom through this one. It's going to be easy to tell exactly what's happening. I think Bitcoin is going to continue to hold strong. And so we're playing all the proxy positions here, not actual Bitcoin itself. So you had the former highs, held on to that nice monthly consolidations, and we're not breaking out yet. But when we break out from this 3-month consolidation, it's going to be a nice move. So we're right at the top there. We're trending. You have momentum, the 8 EMA and the monthly time frames. Our uptrend is way down here. So the trend indicator, the 20 simple, is way down here. So we have plenty of room to be bullish in Bitcoin. All right, going down to the weekly. Well, I'll just show you real quick. The indicators are the momentum's up on the monthly time frame. So that's our dominant time frame. Yes, we'll probably have a little bit of divergence on the RSI, but with momentum heading up, that could form a couple divergences. Going to the weekly. Holding on to those all-time highs. We have our trend line here, holding very nicely there. So a nice consolidation, and then almost testing the 20 simple moving average. So the trend is up and got above the 8 EMA momentum indicator, and now momentum is going up there. So it looks like we have a left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and I'll show you that in just a few minutes. Momentum's up on the weekly, daily, so I don't need to harp on that. Let's go to the daily. Now there's a couple of different ways we can look at this on the daily time frame. You have the channel that broke down, and now we're moving back up. But we held that major channel down there, broke down, or broke above that lower momentum channel, broke above it, back tested that channel perfectly, and now we're pushing off of it. And you see this, we have this trend line here. So as long as you have this trend line, we're definitely bullish. We could create another one if price does want to retreat back to the flag breakout. I have this as a flag, but you can also look at this as a left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and then the neckline being about right where we are. It's a zone, so right about the 72,000 zone here. And like I said, getting above this spot, the price should really start to take off. So it could do that at any time now. We're above the 8 EMA. All the other moving averages are headed higher. Now looking at the Elliott wave here. Nope. Let's do Elliott wave here. Okay, now same thing, same exercise. Here was our retracement, and we took our price targets from the top of that retracement to the bottom. You see we're still in those retracement zones. You have the 62, 78. Now we're at just about the 90. It's at 88. And as soon as we get over this 100%, we're looking at these targets of 79, 500. And then 85, 500 would be our next target, our final target from this retracement, around the 85,000. Now you can consolidate after that and continue higher, but this move in itself should continue to move up and gain momentum, probably kind of U-turn up there, very slowly making these market structure. Again, I'll put that video for market structure. You get a 1, 2, 1, 2, and start to move as 3 and get a little bit steeper and maybe consolidate, for quite some time and then head higher there. Now, if the market, again, if the market holds on and wants to hit those final targets, Bitcoin is likely to do the same thing. It's really a risk-on situation. I use it as a risk-on proxy for if the market is going to continue higher and liquidity continues to move into these markets. Okay, that's what I got for you. Hope this helps. Consider supporting the channel, and we'll talk to you in the next video.